Good morning, students. I hope you all have gone through the first part of the chapter 4, the theoretical concept of operating system. So, in that first part, we have seen about the introduction to software, what is a software, what are all the types of software available, system software and application software, and introduction to operating system, how the operating system works and need for operating system and uses of an operating system, types of operating system, the single user operating system and the multi-user operating system. And we have discussed the first two key features of an operating system, that is user interface and the memory management. I hope you all got a clear idea about the concept which we have discussed in the first part. In this video, we are going to discuss the remaining concepts of the chapter 4, theoretical concepts of operating system. These are the discussion points which we are going to discuss in this video. So the first one is the remaining key features of the operating system. And the next one is a prominent operating system. The operating systems which are widely used based on their position and the quality. So we are going to discuss about those operating systems. The first key feature which we are going to discuss in this part is the process management. So process management is a function which includes creating and deleting of the process, and also it provides some basic structure, basic protocols, basic mechanism for process to communicate and also to synchronize with each other. Here the term process refers to the unit of work or a program in a computer. So what are all the work which you are doing in a computer, we call it as a process. For example, a word processing program. So opening a Word document, word processing program that is run by the individual user, and also the system work, system process. Suppose your system is sending an output to a printer or a projector. So all these system task comes under the process. So here the process is classified into two categories, based on two categories. So first one is the operating system process, which is executed by the system itself. And second one is the user process, which is executed by the user code. And all these process while running can able to run simultaneously on a single system. All these process can able to execute or run concurrently, that is simultaneously, on a single CPU. While running, all these process need some resources like CPU time, memory, files, input output devices. All these resources are required for a process to complete the task, assigned task. So while doing all these process, the operating system is responsible for certain activities in the process management. So first one is a scheduling the process. Here in computer terminology, the process can also be called as a thread. So the thread is also called as a process. So it must schedule the process in the CPU, and creating and deleting both user and system process, to create a new process and also to delete the unused process. Third one is suspending and resuming the process. And fourth one is, already we told that it must provide some structure, it must provide some protocols, it must provide some mechanism for communication and for synchronization for each process among themselves. So these are all the activities which are to be mainly governed by the operating system with respect to the process management. And some algorithms are used in the process management to allocate the process, to allocate the job. So let us see what are all the algorithms used. First one is the FIFO, that is first in first out scheduling. So from the name itself we can able to guess the concept. So first in first serve. Whatever the process comes first will be completed first. So that is the concept of the first in first out. This algorithm is mainly based on the queuing technique. So the person whoever enters the queue first will come out first. So assume that a student is standing in a queue, in a row, to get a mark sheet from his or her teacher. So that is a given example. So other student who stands first in the queue gets the mark sheet first and leaves the queue out first. So that is the example which is given, general example which is given in your book. So this is how the first in first out scheduling concept, the algorithm works. So technically, the process that enters the queue first is executed first by the CPU and followed by the next and so on, like that. So the process are executed in the order of the row, order of the queue. Okay, this is the first in first out scheduling. And the next one is the shortest job first scheduling. That is SJF. So here also shortest job, the job which has the process which has the shortest size, smaller size will be executed first. So this algorithm works based on the size of the job being executed by the CPU. Here we have given two examples. So first one is that A is equal to A is a job which have 6 kilobytes, and the second one is the B is a 9 kilobytes. Obviously 6 is the smallest number, so job A will be executed first, and once A gets completed, the B gets executed. So that is the concept of the shortest job first scheduling algorithm. And the next one is the round robin scheduling. So round robin scheduling algorithm is mainly designed for time sharing systems. So jobs that are assigned, and it takes the processor time based on a circular method. For example, 3 jobs are assigned A, B, C. So for job which is assigned is A, and next one is B, and followed by C. The first job A is assigned to CPU, and once completed, then B will get executed, and then C will be executed. Like it works in a circular method. And next one is the based on priority algorithm. So the job will given a certain priority. Based on the priority level, the jobs will be executed and processed. So the given job is assigned based on a priority. The job which has higher priority is more important than the other jobs. So for example, here we have given, take two jobs A and B. Let the A has priority 5 and B has priority 7. Obviously 7 has the more priority. So the job B will be executed first, and next the job A will be executed. So like this, there are 4 algorithms used in the process management. The next topic is security management. So the major challenge in computer field or in the IT sector or in the software industry is to protect the users' legitimate data from the hackers, is to protect the user's personal identification information. So for this purpose, the operating system provides 3 levels of security to the user end. So the first one is a file access level, second one is system level, and third one is a network level. So in order to access the files that are created by other people, the user must have the access permission. So either the permission can be given by the creator of the file or by the administrator of the system. So these two persons can give the access permission, file access permission. And next one is a system level security is offered by the password while using in a multi-user environment. So multi-user environment means in a system there may be using 4 to 5 users, like that. All these users will be having separate environment for accessing their particular files. So system level security is given both in Windows and also in Linux. We have the facility. And the last one is a network security. Network security is an indefinable one because the people all over the world are get connected with the help of the network. So by using the various firewall securities, the network security is enabled. So all the above levels of security features are provided only by the operating system. The next topic is fault tolerance. The operating systems must be robust. So robust means when there is a fault, the operating system should not crash. Instead, the operating system have the fault tolerance capabilities and make the existing state of system to be retained. So this is one of the main features of the operating system. And the next feature is file management. So file management is an important function of the operating system because it handles with the data storage. The operating system manages the files, folders, and all the directory systems on the computer. So any type of data in a computer is stored in the forms of files and directories or folders through the file allocation table. There are various formats used for storing. Mostly the file will be stored based on the file allocation table that we call it as a FAT system. The FAT system stores the general information about the files like file name, type, and what type of the file, whether it is text or a binary file, and the size of the file, and starting address, and the access method, whether it is a sequential or random or indexed to sequential or direct or relative. All these access methods will be mentioned. All these details will be stored in the file allocation table. So the file manager of the operating system helps to create, edit, and copy, allocate memory to the files, and also update the file allocation tables. So the operating system also takes care of the files that are opened in the with the proper access rights to either to read or to write. Like that, the access permission will be given to the files. And also there are various file management techniques are there, that is NTFS, we call it as next generation file system. And also the same in Linux it is named as ext2 extension 2. Next one is the multiprocessing. So this is one of the most important feature of the operating system, because for a single running process there may be two or more processors running simultaneously. So processing takes place in parallel, that we call it as a parallel processing. So each processor works on different parts of the same task of a that means each processor works on different parts of a single task, either in two or more distributed tasks. So since this execution takes place in parallel, this feature is used for high speed execution, because for executing a single process in a single processor, we are splitting up the process into multiple processors so that the work gets done quickly. So which increases the power of computing, that is the power of execution. The manipulating process gets executed more quickly. The next one is a time sharing. So in multiprocessing we have seen about the process gets splitted and given to multiple processor, whereas here this is one of the feature of the operating system where it allows the execution of multiple task or process concurrently. But here for each task a fixed time is allocated. So this division of time we called as a time sharing. We share the time of the process. We fix the time for each process for execution. Based on the fixed time, the process will get executed. So the processor switches rapidly, automatically between various processes after the allotted time is lapsed and or the process is completed. So if either the time get lapsed or the process gets completed, automatically the processor switch on to the next process. For example, assume there are three processes. So P1, P2 and P3, and for each process we have allocated the time 30, 40 and 50 minutes respectively. So if the process P1 completed within 20 minutes, then the processor takes the next process P2 automatically. So the 10 minutes we have allocated 30 minutes, but the process gets completed within 20 minutes itself. So the 10 minutes is allocated to the next process. If the process P2 could not complete within 40 minutes, means the P2 process will get stopped, will be suspended, and after completion of the P3 process, again the P2 process will get executed. So based on the allocated time, the process gets executed. That is the time sharing. The next topic is the distributed operating system. So this feature takes care of the data and the applications that are stored and processed on multiple physical locations across the world with the help of the network, either through internet or the intranet. So the distributed operating system is mainly used to access the shared data and files that reside in any machine around the world. So once if the data or files is said to be shared anywhere around the world, it can able to accessed with the help of the distributed operating system. The user can handle the data from different locations. So the user can also access as if it is available on their own computer. The main advantages of the distributed operating systems are a user at one location can use of all the resources available at another location with the help of the network. Many computer resources can also be added easily in the network. And main thing is it reduces the load on the host computer. That means all the data cannot be dumped in a single computer. So it can be shared. So from various locations, the data can be accessed with the help of the network. And also it improves the interaction between the customers and the clients of a company. So no need to store the data of the customers and the client in a single machine. Rather than they can able to share the data, customers data from their network. So you can able to see the image like there are various computers that are get connected with the help of the server. So with the help of the networks. So this is the concept of the distributed operating system. Next topic is prominent operating system. So modern operating systems uses the GUI concept, that is the graphical user interface. A GUI makes the user to use the mouse to select the icons, to click the buttons and menus and everything which is clearly displayed on the screen with the help of the combination of the graphics and the text elements. So each operating system's GUI has its own different look and feel based on the developer. So if the user switches to a different operating system, initially it may seem to be unfamiliar. But however, most of the modern operating systems are designed for the user friendly concept, and most of the basic principles are the same to satisfy the customer, satisfy the user. And the operating system can either be proprietary, that means it can be a commercial license, that is a paid version, or it can be open source where the user can edit the source code. So the prominent OS are Unix, Microsoft Windows, and Linux. These three are specially for the Windows version, and iOS and Android is for mobile devices. So the content which we are going to discuss in this chapter related to the prominent operating systems are just a small introduction. In the upcoming chapters, we will see in detail, more detail about the prominent OS, that is Microsoft Windows and the Linux in the next chapters. So the first one is the Unix. So Unix is fully based on multitasking and multi-user operating system. So it creates multi-user environment, and it is initially developed at the AT&T Bell Laboratory and in the 1970s by Ken Thompson and Dennis Ritchie. And next one is the Linux. So based on the Unix, the next concept, that the next distributed OS, that a multi-user OS developed was Linux. So Linux is fully open source operating system. So the open source means the source code of the operating system can be downloaded by any user and it can be modified based on their convenient. So this is different, totally different from the proprietary software, that is Windows, where Windows source code cannot be downloaded and cannot be edited. You can just use it. Whereas here in Linux, based on the user convenient, the source code can be modified. That is the difference between the proprietary and the open source software. So there are many versions and updates has been came with respect to the Linux operating system, and some of the distributions of Linux are currently we are using Ubuntu and Mint, Fedora, Red Hat, Debian, Google's Android. All these things comes under the Linux distributions. And next one is a Microsoft Windows. So Microsoft Windows comes under the proprietary software, mainly designed by the Microsoft Corporation, and primarily it is targeted to overcome the Intel and the AMD architecture based computers. And these three, Unix, Linux, and Windows, are specially developed for desktop and laptop computers. The next one is the operating systems for mobile devices. So mobile devices such as smartphones, tablets, these are totally different from the desktop and laptop computers. So they need a special kind of operating system. So like an Apple iOS and Google Android and BlackBerry Symbian, all these comes under the mobile operating systems. Mobile operating systems are not initially developed with full feature because they won't support all the softwares initially. Based on the usage of the operating system more and more by the user, the operating system gets upgraded. And the first one is the Android. Android is a mobile operating system which is developed by the Google based on the Linux, and it is mainly designed for touchscreen smartphones and tablets. And even the Google has upgraded and placed this Android in various sectors, like even in the televisions, even for automobiles, cars, and also for wristwatches. Even they have developed or upgraded this Android, they have a unique user interface for each and every sector. And variants of the Android also used on game consoles, digital cameras, even in PCs, personal computers, and also in all other electronic gadgets. They have used this Android console, that is Android layouts. You can able to see the Android versions starting from the alphabet A, and it goes on. The next mobile operating system is iOS. That is, formerly it is called as iPhone OS. It is created and developed by Apple company. It is exclusively developed for its own hardware, and it is the second most popular mobile operating system globally after Android. So first one is the Android. The most used mobile operating system is Android, and next to that is the iOS. So this is all about the mobile operating system, and with this the chapter 4 gets completed. In the next chapter we will discuss more in detail about the working with the Windows and working with Linux. Thank you, students.